I am Shamel Leonard, and I created the Auto Dealer Business School because I wanted people to know all the details it takes to be a high earning, successful auto dealer. There are so many successful independent auto dealers, but they are so secretive, right? And I talk to so many people, and they're like, yes. You ask someone what are they doing or what's going on in their business, and they're like, oh, it's just hard work, or, whatever it is. I said, kill that noise. There are details that people need to know. So that's why I started the Auto Dealer Business School. So I got licensed and basically just hustled real hard for 2 years and failed a lot. And in those 2 years, though, I realized what I needed to do to turn my business around. So that's what I give people when I work with them, is like the things that I did to turn my business around. And now that I'm even taking it further, that's the other thing that I give people. So everything that I talk about is my experience, or an experience of someone close to me or a dealer close to me. All right. Because we have, we're a community. We have to be able to support each other. And there's enough money out here for everyone to eat, so I don't have to be secretive about, what this business is about, because I'm scared that you're going to buy the cars I need, or you're going to have the customers I want, right? So anyway, let's talk about funding. I first want to talk to you about my funding story. Like I said, when I was thinking about how I got funded, it was quite spectacular, but I realized that this story is a testament to being persistent, and I also think changing your perspective. Okay, so here it goes. So I was working at a job, and I was talking to the people. I managed like 200 people. Okay, like I managed a lot of people. I think it was even more than that, but I managed a lot of people. And good morning, Virgil. I managed a lot of people, and I used to talk all the time to the people I managed about becoming an auto dealer. And I would talk about it every day. When I become an auto dealer, I'm going to become an auto dealer. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I've been doing to get there. I was only talking about it because I didn't have the money to just make it happen. I had looked at the requirements on the application, and I was like, okay, one day. Then I got fired from the job. And everything in me was saying, you got fired because this was discrimination. Okay, I was one of the better managers, and they were firing all the female managers. Okay, so it was discrimination based on sex. So they were firing all the female managers, and there was a male manager that had been written up, but he wasn't fired. I was fired. So like I said, everything in me said, you need to follow up with this, because this could be it. You really have been discriminated against being a woman in this field, because it was like a lot of men. Okay, it was like a male dominated career, right? So I went through the proper channels to file a claim. And then when it came up time for the claim to be mediated, it turns out that it did look like I was discriminated against. And so to not go to court, they settled out of court with me. And they settled out of court with me for like a year's salary. Okay. So it was like, bam, there it is. Now, mind you, this wasn't like one day, next day, last day, I'm an auto dealer. I want to say it took a year. Okay. Now I know that's not the typical thing. I know that's not typical. So let me tell you what happened after that. So I took that money and I got licensed, because I knew I had to get licensed. I also had to pay off some other things. Right? It was nice. So I took that money, I got licensed, and paid off some other things. And that money went so fast. Okay. So lesson number 3, even though I didn't say 1 and 2 yet, but lesson number 3 is you think $25,000 is a lot of money, or 30,000 or 50,000 even, or 60,000. That money goes so quickly, especially when you are trying to build something up or invest in it and you don't know what you're doing, right? That money went so fast. I was just surprised. So still ended up needing funding to keep going in the business. After I got licensed, so this is how I got funding the second time around. There was a guy who we worked with here and there. Like my husband did some handyman work for him. And he wanted to invest. He saw how we were hustling in the business. He knew it was new. So we asked him to invest in a couple of cars. Like, you know, give us the money. We'll go purchase the cars. We'll get them ready to sell. We'll sell them. And then we will split the profit, right? So that kept us afloat for a little while. We did that. Then after doing that, I realized that you could get like a cash flow loan. And I had talked about cash flow loans before, but once you're in business, you can get loans based on the amount of money that's coming through your business account. Okay. They're called cash flow loans. So I applied for a cash flow loan. I want to say it was like 40 grand, and got it. And then I cleaned my credit because my credit was not good. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good. And, it wasn't good enough to have a loan. Like I had like just high balances and things like that. Like I didn't have, really horrible stuff, but it still wasn't good. So I cleaned my credit myself, and I brought my score up to a 680 because I knew at 680, then the funding options started opening up with credit. So I did that, and then after it became 680, I applied for the floor plan and got a floor plan for 50 grand. So that's 40 grand, 50 grand, 90 grand, all at one time. It was around the same time. So I want to say maybe they were, I don't know, a couple of months apart. Okay. So that was 90 grand. I was like, wow, I never added that up. I never looked at it that way. I never saw that I got 90 grand and that was how I got it. And that's how we were able to move from our we were able to buy more inventory. We were able to move from our small office to a big lot. Like things were really looking up. So that is my funding story and how I got 90 grand in a short period of time. It was finding an investor, then cleaning my credit, cash flow loan, floor plan. Okay. So now let me talk about some of lessons 1 and 2, because I said lesson 3 was that the money was going so quickly, right? So lesson 1 and 2, 1 is I used to say to myself when I was trying to get the money to even get licensed, that out of no way a way will be made, because I had heard that before and it stuck with me. And I just felt like that. I was like, wow, like there is literally no way that I could get this money. There's not a relative I can ask. There's nobody who I could just be like, hey, can you give me this money? But I kept saying, out of no way a way will be made. And I believe that, like, out of no way a way will be made. Just poof, miracles happen every day. I used to say that. And so, you know, I believe that helped bring about the whole situation with the job. Okay, that was number 1. The number 2 lesson was perspective. So as long as I kept saying, oh my gosh, there's so much money. Oh my gosh, there's so much money. I was never going to get it because it was just too huge. So then I had to start saying, well, that's less money than this, or that takes less money than if I lived here, or, you know, I had to reframe it. And I use this example because I lived in Boston before I moved to Atlanta. And when I was moving to Atlanta and I was looking for places to stay, in my mind, I was had Boston real estate prices in my mind. And if you know anything about Boston real estate, it's expensive. So when I came to Atlanta, I was thinking, oh, if I could just only find a place for $2,000 a month, that would just be great, you know, because $2,000 a month in Boston is an iffy kind of place. Like, that's not a nice place, okay? And so I kept saying, if I can find a place $2,000 a month that's nice, then, you know, I feel like I've made it, like I'm, you know, doing the thing. And when I came to Atlanta, prices were less expensive. So I was like, oh, okay, I can get a nice place for $2,000 a month. Like, that was high-end apartments. $2,000 a month, that was some nice apartments, right? My point is perspective. From people who live in a situation where it costs way more for them to take advantage of an opportunity, they would look at your situation and they would be like, oh, if only it was just that amount of money. So no matter how much you think it is, just think of it as, but I'm glad it's only this little bit of money. Like, change your perspective. Okay, so enough preaching. Let me talk to you about budget for what you're trying to do. So people are trying to figure out, like, what's a good budget for being an auto dealer. And of course, the more you have, the better, because it allows you more cushion when you fall, or it allows you to pay a coach to work with, okay, like me, so that you can have someone to walk you through all the pitfalls and set up the best possible business plan for you, okay? But if you don't have that, the more money, the better, right? So with that being said, where do we cap it off? I would have to say, in my experience, my personal experience, also experience working with students, I've realized that the students who have $20,000 or more are more successful faster. And that includes their licensing. And of course, this will change based on what your state requirements are. Like, those states that require you to have a location with permanent staff before you get licensed. Now, of course, that's gonna be more money, more budget, right? But for those states that require a slightly less in startup, about $20,000, I feel, has been a very solid budget. And now, you don't want a budget that is so skin tight that if you make one mistake, then you're out of the business, okay? You want a budget that allows a little bit of room, a little bit of play. And I feel like 20,000 does that. I think it also depends on what your niche is, though. I want to say that, because every niche costs something different. What I mean by niche, let me explain. So cash cars is a niche, and niche I define as the way you buy and the way you sell, like what you buy and the way you sell it, okay? So cash cars is a niche because there's a certain model, right? You're buying older cars. They are usually, you purchase them at the auction for between $500 and $1,500. You're usually selling them for between $1,500 and $3,500. That's a niche, right? They come with cash and buy. That's a niche. Cash car niche, the inventory is less expensive. So you don't need a whole lot of a startup for the inventory. You can buy 10 cars for less than 10 grand. Okay. Now, other niches, the online car sales niche, which is what I'm testing and working out the details on right now. It takes a slightly bigger budget because the cars cost more, okay? But you're buying a certain kind of car. They retail for $5,000 to $9,000. You're selling them through financing. That's a niche, okay? The reason why I am choosing that niche now is because I want life to be a little easier as an auto dealer. I also want it to be a little more systemized, and I want to make more profit. So for me, that niche does all those things, and I experimented with it before. Now I'm going to focus on it. Okay. So you have to decide what your niche is. That's going to determine your budget. But from my experience, it's been about $20,000, especially in a state like Georgia, where licensing is really fast and inexpensive because of the kind of office that we're required to have. I think $20,000 is a great start. So are there any questions? Because I have just been talking. Any questions? Let me see. Budget. And of course, with your budget, what you're buying is your license, your inventory, hopefully some expertise like a coach. And you want to also consider having money for staff, hiring people. Okay. Let's see. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so how to get some money. Okay, this is the good part. I've just had stories so far, right? Okay, so the good part. How do you get this $20,000? You know, like I said, my story was very magical. So I can't tell you to do it that same way because there's no way to guarantee that you can duplicate that same situation, right? So what I have seen and what I have even done it myself is what I'm going to give you as a funding plan, okay? So first thing in your funding plan, I would have to say, get your mind right. And those are the things I talked about, like follow your intuition. If something is saying, do this, it's because you ask for the money to start up your business or to continue your business. And if you're asking for the money, things are showing up to allow you the money to do what you want to do. So follow your intuition. If something comes to you, an opportunity, follow it. Say, okay, let me see where this goes. Okay. You know, protect yourself, make sure it's a good deal. But yeah, get your mind right, follow your intuition, change your perspective. It's not a lot of money. I don't care if it costs $100,000 for you to start your business. It's not a lot of money. Get to the space where you actually believe that that is not a whole lot of money. That is not a problem. Okay. Whatever the amount is. Then the other thing was, what was it? Oh yeah. Just believe in the impossible. I talk to people all the time and they're like, oh, well, you know, I have this going on, that going on, so it won't happen for me. Okay, I mean, if you have all the answers, if you already know all the possible things that can happen for you, then, I mean, there's nothing else I can do. I'm telling you that miracles happen. Believe in the impossible. So if that's too hard for you to do, okay, I mean, I don't know what to do, right? Okay, so that's the getting your mind right part. So some practical things. I had my very first student that I worked with, Glenn, he made $99,000 in 6 months. Okay. I was astonished. I was like, what? I was just amazed. He was not a licensed dealer. Okay. Let me repeat that. He was not a licensed dealer, an independently licensed dealer. What he did and what I helped him to do was I helped him to connect with the dealership in a dealer apprentice type program so that he could buy and retail cars. Once he was able to buy cars, then he bought one car every time he went to the auction. He would buy that car, sell it, another one, sell it. And after, I want to say 2 months, it took maybe 2 months to get a really good momentum. After 2 months, he had maybe $4,000 extra from the profit. Then after 3 months, it was 6. Then after 4 months, it was like 10, right? Because things grow exponentially, especially if you have some, you know, you have some momentum going, right? So at the end of 6 months, I want to say he had in excess, you know, over 10 grand. Okay. That was 6 months it took to create, to raise, to make, you know, excess of 10 grand, right? while paying himself a salary. Okay, so it wasn't like he saved every penny. If he would have saved every penny, he would have had 28 grand saved up. But he paid himself, saved, and that's what he had after being a dealer apprentice. So that is a really great way to raise some money for you to do what you want to do. Yeah, there's some limitations. Yeah, you know, it's not gonna be as quick because there are some things in the process that make it different from being your own independent licensed dealer. However, it's better than nothing, and it allows you a vehicle to get the money you need. Okay, so dealer apprentice, if you're interested in that, I will put the link so that you can get more information about being a dealer apprentice, because I've seen it happen. And if you have the drive and the ambition, it can work for you. And you have to be diligent. Like you have to know that you're going to sell a car no matter what. Like it's not an option. I'm going to sell this car is not an option. There's a certain mindset you have to have that kind of success. Okay. Failure is not an option. That's number one, dealer apprentice. Number two, investors, people who believe in your drive and hustle. So I've always been a hustler. Like and not in like I've always been business savvy hustling. Okay. I wanted to change my hustle to CEO because I didn't want to be seen as the person who can always make $1 out of 15 cents, no matter what. I wanted to be the person who could see the big picture and make $1 million, out of 20,000. Okay. Putting a little perspective in the conversation. But since I had that spirit, since I had that drive, people would see me doing things and making things work, and they would believe in that. Like, well, I know no matter what, you're going to survive and you're going to make some money. So here, make my money, make money. Okay. If you're that kind of person, there are people around you who see you. They see you doing what you're doing. So hit them up, see if they're interested in being a partner with you in this auto business. Okay. I'm going to see what I can provide for you to help you with that. I think I may have like a return on investment, something that I gave the guy who invested with us, but I have to look for it and dig it up if I do find it. Or if I don't find it, I may just create another one for you to have, because people are going to want to know what's the return on investment. And there were some things that I learned in that situation that are helpful. Like I can't split profit that I don't make, meaning I have to take out money for the expenses of running the business. So I can't say we're going to split this 50-50, but I'm still paying all the expenses, because then now it's not 50-50. Okay. That was just one of the things I learned with the investor. So I'll see how I can help you with that. Okay. The next tip on how to raise some money, the dealer cash flow program. I did mention this in my story, but part of what also helped to get some money coming in to cover expenses was I would work with dealer apprentices. So if you're licensed, then there are still options for you to raise money. And to be honest, I feel like once you're licensed, it's easier to raise money. I raised the money before you're licensed. It's like, oh, it's a startup company, it's more risk, right? After you're licensed, then you're in business. Cash flow loans open up for you, all kinds of things. Dealer cash flow program. You can take on dealer apprentices. You can do lots of things for your license to bring in some money legally. Okay. You can do lots of things. So if you want to learn more about the dealer cash flow program, where you work with dealer apprentices, people who want to be in the business to buy and sell cars, then I will put the information there. But that was a lifesaver because it covered overhead. So the money that I would bring in, I wouldn't necessarily have to spend it on overhead. Okay. So let's see what else. Dealer cash flow. Okay, so then I think the last thing I have on here is clean your credit. Okay. I came from a generation where I had bad credit before I was in high school. And if you know what I'm talking about, if you have come from that generation where you had light bills and all kinds of things in your name before you were even old enough to sign papers, right? So I started out on the wrong note, but I didn't understand credit. I didn't know, that I needed it. But credit is king, okay? If you're going to be in this business, you need to have good credit. If you don't already have good credit, you need to know how to get good credit. And I've cleaned my own credit twice. And I know I shouldn't have had to clean it twice, but after 2008, when the recession hit, I had some things going on that I had to take care of. So there was before 2008, there was after 2008 that I cleaned my credit myself twice. There are certain things I learned about credit that I actually feel passionate about teaching, but I really want to find a credit partner. I want to find someone who cleans credit for people so that you wouldn't have to do it. But it's pretty easy, in my opinion. I can give you the steps right now. Like, one is to make sure if you have trade lines, like credit accounts that you owe money, call them up and make a settlement. Call them up and say, hey, I'll pay you X, Y, and Z, but in return, I want something, a letter that I can send to the credit bureau so I can remove this negative inquiry on my credit, okay? So basically, you're bargaining with the money to pay them. And 9 times out of 10, they'll do it because they are wanting the money. They don't care about making your credit bad. If your interest is having good credit, then they're like, okay, whatever you need, just send me the money. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is paying down your balances before the close date of when they report your balances. Okay, so for instance, if they report your balances on the 1st, paying down your balance on the 30th, under 20% of what the balance is. So if that's $1,000, your limit is you have no more than $200 charged on that card. Okay, and these are just some quick credit tips. I am not a credit advisor. That is not what I do. That is not my sphere of genius. But I've done it twice, and I bought a house the first time after I cleaned it. The second time, I got all the stuff right for the business. Okay, so it does work. But if you know anyone who is a credit partner, let me know, because I'm bringing on people to the Auto Dealer Business School to teach you other things that you'll need. And if your personal credit needs some cleaning up, you need to have your personal credit to be straight. Credit is king, okay? Because after you clean your credit, then you got to know what to do with it, okay? Because I see people who clean their credit, they're like going crazy, buy a new car, all kinds of stuff. No, okay? Credit is still borrowed money. Do not spend what you cannot make in 30 days, okay? That is important. Know what to do with your credit. You're going to get a floor plan. Even though I don't agree that you use floor plans, especially first starting out. Okay, that's just my opinion. I don't think you should use them because they're tricky. And if you're learning the business, it can cost you a lot more to learn the business if that car is on the floor plan. Okay, so that's not my advice to like use it, but to have it in place in case an opportunity comes along. I remember I saw on Craigslist once, there was this woman who was selling off her husband's car collection because he had passed away. And he had something like 30 classic cars. And I so wanted to purchase all 30 of those cars and have those cars for sale and fix them up and all that. Well, your floor plan, you can purchase cars outside the auction. Make sure you check with your floor plan and get with the right one. But yeah, if you had that in place, even if you don't have the $40,000 or whatever it costs to take advantage of the opportunity, when the opportunity comes, you have that money available on the floor plan to say, yes, I can do this. Okay, so that's what I believe floor plans are for. So know what to do with your credit. Floor plans line of credit. And then also just having extra money to protect your mental health. I want to also just reiterate, like, being broke is not good for the mind. It's just not. It's not good for the mind, okay? So having things in place for your business, like lines of credit, floor plan, etc., just gives you kind of an ease, a calm that you can go about your business with, okay? If there's something your business needs, like a coach, you can say, you know what? I really need somebody to come in here and help me turn this around. I got this money and space to do that. If you don't, now it's like, oh, now I'm just in this every day and this sucks, right? So protect your mental health, clean your credit so that you can have cushion money, so you can get this money to be the auto dealer that you want to be. Any questions? Let's see. Derek, you offer online school courses? I do. What do you mean exactly about online school courses? Kevin. Hi, Shamel. I hope I'm not late. Okay. Hey, Kevin. A little late, but that's okay. It'll be recorded so you can watch it later. Any questions about funding? Okay. So my funding suggestions are, if you are not licensed, dealer apprentice, also investors, but you also still have to be a dealer apprentice so that you can buy and sell. If you are licensed, my suggestions are investors, dealer cash flow program, and then no matter if you're licensed or not, clean your credit. That would be my suggestions so that you can get this business off the ground. All right, any questions? I know I had a lot to say, but money is an exciting topic, right? Everybody wants to know how to get it and how to use it. And it was really good for me to even think about how I funded that business, because I did not realize that I had gotten $90,000 in funding. And that's pretty miraculous, right? From a 680 credit score. What? Okay, any other questions? And this is about the end. So I'm not seeing any more questions. If there was something I did not cover in this funding that you were like, oh, I really wish she would have talked about this, please let me know in the comments, okay? Because I want to make sure I get all your questions answered, because you can do this, okay? If you can really do this. Funding is all about your perspective, and it's also about what you allow in. Get your mind right, get with the right program so that you can build this money up, so that next year you look back and you're like, wow, I'm actually doing it. Like, I am living my dream. Even if it's not perfect, I am on my way. All right. I like the idea of having a dealer apprentice, maybe the way to get started. Yes, dealer apprentices are a nice cooperative relationship. Okay. It is a nice way to get your overhead taken care of while you learn, because the reality is, if you did not grow up in an auto dealership, and also not just grow up, but working in it, then you're learning while you're trying to earn some money. And that's a really hard thing to do, to make sure you're profitable and to make sure you're learning all the right lessons you need to learn. So allow yourself a little bit of slack, allow yourself some cushion, have a dealer apprentice so that every lesson is not do or die. Because when you have to earn the money, every lesson is all of a sudden extra important, right? So I'll put some links up. If you have any more questions or comments, let me know. If there was something I did not mention, let me know. Yeah, I think the next time we'll be talking about licensing in different states. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you enjoyed this conversation. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know if this was eye-opening. Was this useful? Was this a good use of your time? Was it a good use of my time? If you have debt, should you pay it off before getting new funding, or could use new funding be used to help pay off the other balances? So I think that that's kind of like, that's an answer, a question that the answer really depends on the strategy of whoever is giving you the answer, right? So what I'm saying about that, Virgil, is I'm not exactly 100% sure if you should pay off debt before getting new funding or not. Most times it will be a requirement of your new funding to either pay it off or not. I am not a fan of paying off debt to get more debt. So if you have debt, get more debt to make money is my philosophy. If I'm getting more debt to pay off debt, that's not my strategy. If you're gonna be in debt, again, use it to make money is what I would say. Okay, does that answer your question? Buying new cars. Yes, use it to buy new cars, not necessarily to pay off debt, because it's gonna be debt no matter what. You need it to be income. Philip, I'm late, but did you talk about floor plans? Oh, I did talk a little bit about floor plans, but it wasn't like, it wasn't in depth. Philip, what do you want to know about floor plans? Let me know. Is it wise to buy, say, 3 to 4 cars at a go, then try to move them for your lot, or one at a time? This is for a new dealer. So it depends on what level of expertise you are, Kevin. If you should buy 3 or 4 cars at a go, I would say, so this is something I say, every car is a lesson. So if you buy 3 and 4 of them at the same time, you got to have way more time to devote to those 3 to 4 cars at the same time, because that's 3 to 4 lessons. Okay. Especially if you're new. But if you have more than one car, you usually end up selling more, because this is what happens. Someone comes to look at a car and say they're not too impressed with the car you have for sale. But then they look over and they're like, oh, but what about that one? Now you still have a sale. Okay, so I feel like the more cars you have at once, the more sales you can have, but you have to definitely have more time, because that's 3 to 4 more lessons. However many cars you have is more lessons. Does that answer your question, Kevin? All right, Eric, super helpful as usual. Thanks. I'm so glad. Derek, thanks, Shamel. Get me posted on the next class. Sure will. Great use of time. Great. I'm glad. Thanks. What I'm asking, use it to make money. Yes, that's my advice, is to use it to make money. Don't use it to pay off debt. Are floor plans good or bad? I think they are okay, but you have to use correctly. You have to use correctly. Let me just say, I don't think any credit is bad, but you have to use floor plans correctly. It will get you in trouble using it incorrectly. Like one thing that comes to mind that is an incorrect use of a floor plan is to buy a vehicle on your floor plan that needs extensive repairs. That is a no-no, because extensive repairs take longer, 30, 45 days, 60 days. That is time you are accruing interest. That interest eats into your profit. And then now they're starting to call you like, what's going on? What's going on? And that is stressful. I'm talking from experience. That is stressful to try to be in this business, trying to get a car ready. And you have your floor plan manager like, what about this car? And what about this car? And what about this car? It's not just buy the car and they leave you alone. No, that's their money. Think about somebody who lends you some money and you promise to pay them back. Are they just going to wait until you call? No, they calling you every time they get, every chance they get. They drop by. Hey, I just want to check on the inventory. Hey, I just want to see. And even my floor plan manager told me the way to really use a floor plan is to, if you buy the cars on the floor plan, then what you want to do is, if you know you have a sale coming, pay off the car on the floor plan, because you're just accruing time on the floor plan. Because for example, when you're doing a finance deal, it may take, and when I'm saying about finance deal, I mean an outside finance company, it may take them a couple of days, maybe even a week to finalize that, to get you the money to pay off the floor plan. That week can be an extra $200, $300, $600 in interest. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of trouble floor plans can be. Okay, so you have to know how to use them correctly. You cannot have those cars on there too long. That's number one. Number two, you cannot charge up too much. Like, people get these floor plans and they're buying $30,000 cars. You know how long it's going to take for you to move a $30,000 car if you don't already have a customer ready. And if you already have a customer ready, the smart business person would take a deposit. I need half a deposit up front. I'm going to go and get your car, right? So all I'm saying is there are right and wrong ways to use floor plans. And the wrong way is buying cars too expensive. Also buying cars that need extensive repairs, and leaving cars on floor plans too long. Those are all the bad things about floor plans. But all credit is good credit. Okay, because it can allow you to do what you need to do. Okay. All right, so I think that's it. I feel like I'm just rambling right now. But if you have any more questions, let me know. Did I answer your question, Philip, about floor plans? Let me know if you want to know more. What Eric says, what you'll rather do with 10,000, buy 5 cars at 1K each and 1 car at 5K, or 10 cars at 1K each. I think it depends on your niche. Okay, so if you're doing cash cars, then you're gonna buy 5 cars at 1K each. If you're doing online sales, you're probably gonna buy 1 car at 5K. Or, you know, and also cash cars, you're gonna do 10 cars at 1K. It depends on what kind of cars you're gonna sell. Kevin, thanks. Each car is a different experience. I get it. Yes, they are a different experience, different lesson. So you want to make sure you are prepared to learn and you have time and space to learn, and you can be kind to yourself while you're learning. Because if you need that money, then you know you don't have, there's no time to be kind to yourself. Right? So, all right, I think that's it. Let me know if you have any more questions. I'll put some information about the Dealer Apprentice program, also the Dealer Cash Flow program. Also, what else was I supposed to put on there? Also, if you know anyone who does a great job at cleaning credit for people, let me know. I want to see if I can bring them on to help people get their credit cleaned up. And I think that was it that I was posting. But if I missed something, let me know.